First, she talks about brands launch campaign using the international global campaign.
Axe was launched in Turkey in 1986, using our usual global Axe launch campaign. The creative idea for this international campaign was based on women finding men who use Axe more attractive. We have continued with this communication for quite some time. As Turkish society has changed over the years, with sex and sexuality becoming less of a taboo subject in Turkey, we also started using quite extreme creative executions of this same creative idea, which set us apart from our competitors.
The next one, she talks about their approach after 2010.
As gender equality gained more and more attention over the years, Axe also felt the need to revisit its own communication strategy. As a result, Axe decided to switch to a much softer communication style after 2010. Since our previous advertisements were often considered to have some sexist elements, we began to pay special attention to gender equality, staying away from gender-specific stereotyping in our communications. However, it was in 2017 that Axe had the biggest shift in its communication strategy, taking the necessary steps to alter its global branding strategy and its consumer perception. This change was the end result of market research studies conducted with men. One such study, conducted with 3,500 men across 10 countries in 2017, showed that men were exposed to too many pressures from society. This pressure made them feel obliged to fit in with social norms. As a result, they felt they could not live the lives they wanted to live. Therefore, as a men's brand, we started asking ourselves how we could possibly help to ease this pressure, allowing men to feel free. Part 3, Men Cry Too campaign. As a result of all these market research studies, Axe decided to change its slogan to Find Your Magic. What we wanted to say was that manhood has got nothing to do with being handsome or rich or athletic. Instead, we wanted to say that every man is attractive when they find their own magic and when they start acting like themselves. This creative idea had many different executions across different countries.
And the third part, she talks about the global campaign and the adaptations that they made for the Turkish market.
Find Your Magic campaign was executed in many different ways across the globe. When adapting the campaign for Turkey, we did not want to make a direct translation because we thought it would just not have the same effect in Turkish. That's why we did some research on the language used by our core target group, aiming to find something which would give the same message to them more directly. We observed that young men use an expression among themselves which can be translated into English as, "What is your thing?" Meaning, what is so special about you? Or, what makes you, you? So in our brand relaunch, we used, "What is your thing?" as our slogan. We also researched the likely pressures that Turkish men face in society and the taboos that they often come across. Then we asked ourselves how we could possibly overcome these barriers and what we could do to make them feel free. We spent a considerable amount of time studying these issues. At the end, we realized that all men were being brought up from a young age with the idea of being strong and staying strong. Being and staying strong is something that all men have experienced in their lives, and they can reflect on this concept very easily. For a man to cry or to show his emotions in front of others without hiding it is not considered to be acceptable behavior. On the contrary, it is believed to be a sign of weakness. We even have a well-known song with the words, "Men do not cry." We started asking ourselves how we could possibly act upon this and give them enough courage to be themselves, reflecting their true emotions. In the end, we collaborated with a well-known Turkish singer, Bonomo, and he rewrote the lyrics and adapted the song to be "Men Do Cry."
Sev gör yaşını, küçükken ağlardın, unuttun mu masum uslu, erkekler de ağlar.
The last one is a local campaign that they devised only for Turkey.
It is rare to hear brands apologize to their own consumers, but we demonstrated this courage in 2018 and communicated a heartfelt apology to our customers. Over the previous year, we had been getting a lot of consumer complaints about lids breaking too easily. So in our campaign, we said, we heard your complaints about our lids, so we are changing them. Our sincere apologies if we have hurt your feelings. In Turkish, we are able to use a pun as well. The verb kırmak was used for both to hurt your feelings and to break. This pun also gave the message much more impact. It was a creative way of addressing both the functional and the emotional problem at the same time. We know that Twitter, especially, is an effective medium for receiving such consumer complaints and responding to them. We had been working on improved packaging for some time, and we were fortunate to have new caps along with our new bottles in 2018. We worked with Bonomo, where he read out loud some nasty tweets we received and answered them in a humorous way, whilst communicating the message about our new, improved packaging. This was a campaign where we merged the fun element with a functional message from the Axe brand. In the end, we were really proud of the campaign. It is...
If we draw a scale, on one side lies total standardization, and at the opposite side lies total adaptation. Each and every company has to find the right mix for itself on the scale. Furthermore, the standardization adaptation mix can change for the same brand from one campaign to the other. It could be so that the same brand can use a totally standard campaign in one instance, and then in another campaign they may need to have more adaptations. Therefore, total standardization, total adaptation should be a case-by-case decision for brands after carefully considering all the pros and cons. Similarly, we see that Axe considering global campaigns one by one and making decisions accordingly. For Axe brand's launch in Turkey, an international campaign was used in 1980s. However, as we have seen in the case, 2017 Find Your Magic global campaign was adapted to Turkish as What is Your Thing, and the whole campaign was created all over again with a new execution, but following the same communication strategy. Therefore, we can say that Find Your Magic campaign was closer to the total adaptation side on the scale. Then in the follow-up, Sorry If I Hurt Your Feelings campaign, a local campaign was produced to announce their new packaging, putting together rational and emotional functions together.
Oh, sorry.
I am an electronic engineer by training. I was working at the University of Antwerp in the Center for Care Technology, focusing on adapting products for disabled people. A friend and I had a fun idea one evening when we were going out to create an interactive urinal. So we created a place to pee, a urinal equipped with sensors to detect in which direction the person was peeing, so they could play games on a screen. That was fun, but we soon ran into problems because the ceramic urinal got dirty and the sensor was incapable of properly detecting the direction. So purely out of love for technology, we started to look for a solution.
Look, there was a basic technology that we needed to develop into a useful product. So we wrote a technological grant proposal and submitted it to a government grant agency. This was a first validation, given that some experts were going to have a look at our submission and determine whether it was a viable idea. If approved, it would also allow for the necessary financial support to develop this basic technology into an effective product. So we worked almost 2 years perfecting the technology and making it into a product.
We got this idea to start up a business almost by accident. Both Jan and I saw the potential to do some wonderful things with it. We wrote this proposal for a government grant, which we got, and we subsequently carried out. That's really how this company started. We first started to develop a sensor for flushing a urinal, which was better than anything on the market. Better means that there are no false flushes, so we are water saving. It is also resistant to vandalism. So we focused on developing a better automatic flushing system for urinals and bring that to market. What this means is that our sensor can detect how dirty the urinal is and how much water is needed to flush. So we developed a sensor which could be attached to an existing urinal. We are the only ones that can detect when an individual starts and stops peeing. This is already a better product than the typical infrared product, which can only detect whether it is somebody in front and when he leaves, so it flushes. But our sensor detects whether the urinal has been used and how dirty it is, adapting the required water to flush. We started this company based on an idea and developed our own technology, so we do our own research and development. As you can see, we have our own lab where we test all electronics and ceramics. We design our own prints and layouts, but we outsource the production of the sensors. We are not a production company, so we subcontract the production to a trusted manufacturing company in Belgium, close to home. The production is designed that way that our sensors are molded into a resin, which is excellent against any liquids, but also an easy way to protect the product from copying.
In terms of sourcing, we have our own production right around the corner, so to speak. We don't do this ourselves. I don't see us doing this ourselves ever. This is not our strong suit. There are other companies that have far better expertise in this regard. We have a business model that is focused on developing the technology and researching and designing the product. But production is not something we will ever do. But we do want to keep this close to home. But obviously, the commercialization and internationalization still had to start.